Okay. We ready to go? Let's start. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this digital event and webinar in association with Visit Belfast and Shocklogic. Welcome to everyone who's joined us. So I'm just going to kick off with a little introduction. My name is Helen Moon, I'm from EventWell. So we're into week 6 of lockdown. And whilst we may be coming to terms with the new norm and new way of working as individuals, how are we really managing as teams and as managers and leaders in terms of taking care of our teams and looking after their mental health and well-being, and keeping them motivated, inspired and creative? I'm delighted to be joined today by Johnny Martinez, who's Head of Marketing and Business Development at Shocklogic, and Anna Clark, Head of Business and People Services at the British Pharmacological Society. For this Visit Belfast and Shocklogic webinar on managing remote working during a crisis, how to look after ourselves and our teams. So just a few housekeeping items to go through first. If you would like to ask a question, then please use the chat function for the Q&A down there. You can see that. And I'll present your questions to Johnny and Anna after they finish their presentations in about 30 minutes time. So if you can also let us know at the end of the webinar by using that chat function, how you found the session, if you found it useful, some of those takeaway sound bites and stuff that you'll be taking away from the session, let us know in that function. So let's get started. First, to take the virtual stage is a very lovely Johnny Martinez. So take it away, Johnny. Over to you.
Thank you, Helen. And thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to be sharing my screen. And you're probably seeing me as a cartoon. Just gonna time myself. So I start with this slide because we've created animated characters for most members of staff at the office, and it is just a way to connect a little bit more with ourselves, and it's a way to bring a little bit of fun to what we do while we work remotely. As a company, we've been operating for more than 20 years. So, we've been in this space for a long time, generating and designing technology solutions for event organizers, membership bodies, and federations around the world. This is just a snapshot of some of the things that we do as a technology company. So this is just very brief. And the most important thing, and one of the key elements that we're here to talk about, is how to look after our teams. The Shocklogic team is very diverse. So half of our team is in Europe and the other half is in the Americas and other parts of the world. So we're very used to being remote to another part of the team. And we've developed strategies to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all working towards the same objectives. The first thing is creating a company culture that everyone can follow and creating a set of values that staff members can relate to. So I'll just walk you through some of those values. The first one is what we call 360 degrees of care. So we talk to all members of staff. So we understand, what are the resources that they have at home? What's the situation that they face, if they have the right technology, the right equipment. And this is what will definitely help them to create successful relationships with partners and suppliers and ultimately deliver a good service for customers. And from the feedback that we get from the customers, obviously continue developing the technology. The second value that we all follow is how can, while we are working from home, what can we do to remain focused on producing solutions? And that's why we say, don't let what you cannot do get in the way of what you can do. So quite often you may say, oh, you know, I don't have this software, I don't have this program, or certain person hasn't sent me the email yet. Well, what can we do to overcome that and provide a solution? The next one is that as we learn to work remotely and as we learn to negotiate how to achieve certain things within the team, we need to make sure that the communication and the state of the relationship is win-win. So this is benefiting me and it will benefit you at a scheduled time, taking into consideration the availability that we have. If it's not win-win, if it's win-lose or lose-win, there's a disbalance and there shouldn't be a deal. There should be a restructuring of that. And finally, something that we say a lot these days, especially as we don't understand completely the situation that other people are facing, is be kinder than necessary. Because everyone you come across out there is going through some sort of struggle. So in every communication you have, we say to the members of our team, you know, make sure that you really get to empathize with what they're going through. And from that, you know, once they've embraced those values, then we talk about more practical tips when it comes to working from home. The first one is designating a good space at home that you know, will allow you to do the work that you need. And something that I've done myself particularly is that my work desk is actually in my living room at home. So it's not in my room. So I keep my workspace and my personal space completely separate. Another important tip for us, perhaps a little bit more technical, is having an external monitor. So even just now, as we speak, I've got Zoom and my camera facility on one computer, and then I've got the presentation on another screen. It allows me to manage my work in a much more efficient way. So you could have your browser and your to-do on one screen, and obviously your email and your instant messaging apps on another, for example. We know, and this is something that I've had to do myself at home. I'm at my workspace by myself at the moment, but at home I live with 5 people. And so it is very important for me to communicate when I have important meetings happening during the day, or when I am going to jump into an important call. So I make sure that, you know, internet bandwidth is not being consumed heavily during that time. And also, so there's no noise in the space where I plan to have my meeting. So having that communication and setting those boundaries is going to be essential. I begin every single day of my life with stretching. I actually do the stretching for 15 to 20 minutes. And I make sure that I schedule some sort of stretching exercise every hour. So I try to just get up 5 minutes and do a bit of stretching. And this, I mean, what this allows is, it allows for the lymphatic system to be activated, to continue moving. And it allows our body to get rid of toxins that may have accumulated throughout the week. So moving, finding a form of exercise is very important. This is something that is very key for all of us, and it is to find ways on how can we keep the team engaged. Many people are organizing quizzes. Many people are jumping on the House Party app, and they are doing Pictionary challenges. Other things that we recommend is, for example, on Thursdays, you could do hashtag Throwbacks Thursday and ask every member of the team to share a picture of themselves, of a baby photo. And that creates a bit of dynamism and a bit of interactivity with your teams. One tip that I am very passionate about is trying mindfulness. And we will try that anyways at the end of the session, because I will be leading a breathing exercise. I use Calm as the app that I use for my guided mindfulness sessions, and I would recommend the same if if you're a newbie or if you've been doing this for a long time. Furthermore, I just want to highlight what we can do to continue keeping our teams engaged by using very regular tools that we all know. Skype is the instant messaging tool that we use internally to communicate. We have a very strict protocol and etiquette on Skype. Every single member of the team, regardless of where they are located, they have to say that they are online in the morning, just to let everyone know that they are there and that they are available. And they would actually do the same when they go away for lunch or when they go away for the desk for an extended period of time. And this is just to make sure, this is what allows us to understand who is actually available and who isn't. And then at the end of the day, when people leave, they just say, I'm offline. So, it allows us to really manage the availability within the team and understand, who's there if I need some help. Zoom, which is actually the platform that we're using for this webinar itself. Something that has been working really well for us when we are having team meetings is that we turn the camera on and it creates, that connection with the other person. And something that we do at the company is that we have daily check-in meetings. So our operational teams actually meet for 15 minutes in the beginning of the day and then 15 minutes at the end of the day. They go through things that they did the day before, things that they have to do, any obstacles that they may come across, and also recognition. So there is a section within those meetings where each member of the team actually has to recognize a different member of the team for the support or the work that they've done, to contribute to the activities. So these really help to, understand what's going on a day-to-day basis, but also it helps the team member to think about the bigger picture and recognize any members that have been helpful to complete the tasks. Additionally, we have an internal counselor, and we had this before we were faced with coronavirus. We have a counselor that actually means on a one-to-one basis with whoever needs it. That includes staff that are still working for us and staff that have been furloughed. So that resource is still available not only to working staff, but also to the staff that are at home. And this is very important because it doesn't have to be work related. If it is personal, we very much allow any member of the team to schedule a meeting with Cam. And finally, something that I wanted to share is now that we're all using these solutions, these technologies more often, we have to also understand that we need to provide a secure space for all of the attendees. So what can we do to prevent someone from interfering in an online meeting? So there are a few tips here. One of the key things is not to share the meeting link or the meeting ID in a public place. If you're taking a picture of, quite often, something that a lot of people are doing is that you take a picture of all of the participants within your online meeting and then you post that picture on social media. Just make sure that the picture doesn't include the meeting ID. We would recommend for meetings, especially if it's a management meeting or a meeting with senior leaders, for those meetings to have a password and only be shared with that specific group. You could also only allow the host to have screen sharing rights. Something that's happened in a few occasions, and I've heard this happening to a lot of people, is that a lot of unwanted individuals came into the meeting and then started sharing pornographic material. And this can be quite distressing for everyone. And this is how we can avoid that kind of situation. Finally, I want to talk about Toggle, which is the tool that we use to track our time. And so what happens is that I log, how long I spent doing a specific task, and I can start and stop the timer as I need it. And then the system is able to produce timesheets. So it can give you a very good idea on, how everyone's spending their time. And it allows you to make strategic decisions and also make suggestions on, okay, perhaps we are spending too much time on admin and we need to spend a little bit more time on strategy. Those are the kind of decisions that Toggle will allow you to make, and it has become incredibly useful since we're able to also integrate Toggle with Trello, Zoom, and some of the other resources that we use. And that's all I have to say regarding managing remote teams and looking after yourself. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Johnny. I really like your statement that says, don't let what you can't do prevent you from doing what you can. I really like that. That's an amazing affirmation and mantra. I think everyone should have that printed out and put it above their screen so they can see it every day. It's amazing. Johnny did mention as well about using multiple screens. Can be a bit tricky when you work from home, obviously, depending on how many screens you have got access to, but there are actually a number of apps that you can Google and look into that will allow you to, if you have an iPad, they will allow you to connect your iPad to your desktop and computer and work that way. So there's one that I know, I can't remember the name of it out loud, but if you Google those, you'll be able to find them. They're multiple screen apps, and they'll be able to help and support you there. And then also as well, what Johnny said, remember kindness to each other. So we're all in this together, but we're all uniquely different in this together. So we're all going through different situations, different environments, but we're all trying to work from home in challenging circumstances. So I think that kindness and compassion for each other is really, really important. Really, really important. Okay, we're going to hear from Anna now. So Anna Clark, if you would like to take the virtual stage. Thank you very much.
Great. So thanks, Helen, for the introduction, and thanks, Johnny. I thought that was really helpful and insightful. So yeah, I'm Anna Clark, Head of Business and People Services, and so today I am talking to you on behalf of the British Pharmacological Society, and so I'll be explaining our approach to flexible working, as well as our stance on our employees' well-being. I'll hopefully be able to provide you with some useful tips and hints that you can take away with you. But yeah, I'll start off by giving a bit of an overview of who we are. So we're the British Pharmacological Society. We're a learned society, and we have a membership of over 3,500 members. We have a fantastic team of 27 employees, and our aim is to promote the full spectrum of pharmacology, and we do this through our meetings and events, our journals, our educational tools, and through media. For those of you that don't know who and what pharmacologists are, I'd say they're the behind-the-scenes superheroes that are developing, researching, and implementing new medicinal drugs. And so a lot of our members are actually working on finding vaccine treatments for COVID-19. So our approach to employee wellbeing is that it is embedded throughout everything we do. It's part of our strategy, it's part of our annual objectives, it's weaved into our team values and the company culture we foster, and it's further supported by the benefits and initiatives we offer. We also offer flexible working, and I'll go into these points in a bit more detail. So just to highlight our team values, so we want to have fun and continuously develop our skills. We ask if we are unsure about anything, and we are mindful of our impact on each other. And in order to make a great team, we think that team working is really important, as well as feedback. So some of the benefits that we offer is that we have an employee assistance program, also known as an EAP. So that's a 24/7 helpline where employees can call through and have access to counselling. That's particularly important in the environment we find ourselves in. We also offer coaching to all of our employees, so they can get coaching from a professional coach, and it doesn't have to be specifically around their role, but it can also be focused on their well-being. And we're about to launch employer-supported volunteering, which will enable our employees to undertake some charitable work whilst still being paid. So a bit about our approach to flexible working. We've been embracing flexible working since 2014, where we offer remote working usually 1 day a week, but in some instances a bit more. At the time of offering a new position, as part of that negotiation, we discussed the individual's flexible needs and their working pattern. And that can get built into their terms and conditions. So flexible working can range from working part-time instead of full-time, changing the working hours that an employee works, to even job sharing, and of course additional remote working. So some employees may want to work remotely for a few more days in the week because of where they're based within the UK. We also appreciate that at this point in time, the family work-life balance is quite out of kilter, and a lot of our employees have young families. So we have taken a flexible approach to ensure that our employees that do have family that they need to care for, they can take the time to look after them and work at other hours that suit them. So our initiatives and social activities, we use a platform called Slack. It is essentially an instant messaging platform. And on that, we have various different channels or forums. So we have one that is focused solely on well-being. So we share insights into different resources, techniques, and tools. And we're also really open and honest and transparent about our mental health, our well-being, and just how we're doing generally. We also have a channel for remote working ideas. So we encourage everyone to share tips and tricks on what works for them, or if you have a question about something that isn't working particularly well for you, someone else might have an idea on how to do that. We've also created a whole heap of ad hoc channels. So at the moment, we've got a bird watching channel. So we're sharing pictures of different birds we see in our gardens or outside where we live. So that's just adding a bit of fun. And on that point, make time for fun. It's part of our strategy. So it's really important to us. You can see in the top corner, there's a screenshot of us all together doing a birthday video for one of our team members. And we're also about to implement a few other social fun activities. We do have weekly tea time and catch-ups, ad hoc coffee catch-ups, as well as virtual drinks. So don't wait for someone to come along with the perfect idea. Share your ideas. We really encourage our team to do that. So making remote working work. Communication is really key. In order to get things going and continue to have that teamwork environment, you need to communicate. Check in with each other. Don't wait to check in with someone necessarily always when you have a work-related query. If you continue to do this, you may come across as a bit disingenuous. So do agree ways that you will be communicating and make time for social interactions. Don't just wait for the work talk. Also just check in how people are doing. Your workspace and setup. So try and dedicate a space for where you can work each day. And I really recommend that at the end of each day, if it is a temporary setup, that you pack away or turn off your laptop or computer so it's out of mind and you're allowing yourself that time to have a full break. In terms of your setup, try work in the most ergonomic way possible. Remember the 90-degree technique. So elbows and knees should be at 90 degrees. The top of your screen should be at eye level, and you should have lower back support. You don't have to go out and buy a brand new desk and everything like that. There are some cheaper alternatives out there, like laptop stands or additional chair support that you can attach to most chairs, or you can even prop yourself up with some cushions. So yeah, be proactive and don't wait for the perfect solution. I don't think there is a perfect solution out there, and everyone is doing the best they can during the times we find ourselves in. So if you have any ideas or solutions, share them. Then physical well-being. Make sure that you are taking the time to look after yourself and be active. So what you can do for your team and your colleagues. So communicate, as I mentioned before, it's really important. Agree a way in which you use different forums for communicating. So for example, at the society, if you give someone a phone call, that needs immediate action. If you Slack someone, that's usually requiring a response within an hour or two. And then email is usually when you have more time to consider it or you're providing more information. So agree how you go about communicating with each other. Also, don't be afraid to look at different options. You can either text each other, create WhatsApp groups. You don't have to have all the different bells and whistles to make sure you can communicate. We already have a lot of things to hand. So also be careful of having too many meetings. I don't think anyone is enjoying having a full day of Zoom meetings and staring at a screen. It's also really not good for your eyes. So be aware of what meetings you are scheduling. Make sure that they are necessary, and don't set a meeting up for an hour when it could be done in 30 minutes. Be conscious of other people's times. Trust. Trust in each other, trust in your management, your wider team, trust that everyone will be doing what is expected of them. And therefore, treat others how you want to be treated. I think during this time, there is no appropriate way to check up on each other. So if you're unsure of what to do, maybe set some clear expectations of what you're expecting to be delivered by your team, or let your manager know what you'll be working on. And then mental health awareness. We haven't all had experience of mental health conditions, and therefore if you haven't, I really, really encourage you to do some research and look into it. There is so much out there on the web, and it will just help give you a better insight. You may also find that you experience mental health conditions for the first time, and you may not be used to this. You may experience anxiety or just not feel yourself. Remember to ask for help. And also, if you do have team members that are in your team that are having struggles with their own mental health, it will help you to support them if you're aware of what their different triggers may be. And in summary, communicating as a line manager, if you are communicating frequently, you'll then get to know and understand if your team are becoming disengaged and then potentially experiencing their own mental health issues. So what you can do for yourself, plan what you want to achieve each day. Maybe put together a little to-do list, and I recommend listing out every task involved, because the more tasks you list, the more you can cross off. It's always nice to be able to look back at the end of the day and see what you've achieved. A support network. So as I just mentioned before, despite whether you've experienced mental health conditions or different difficulties there, I strongly urge you to ensure you have a good support network, whether it's family, friends, colleagues. Just have a group of people you can rely on. And if you aren't sure about how to start that conversation with them, perhaps then ask if they have the emotional capacity to have a chat with you. They can then also let you know if they're not in the place to chat, or they can let you know when they're feeling up for it. Honesty and transparency. Be honest with your manager and your team. Let them know how you're coping, find out how they're coping. I think by building this rapport with each other, you'll be able to really manage your expectations and support each other. Then, of course, look after yourself and take breaks. So try plan your day, as I said in the first point, and you can use something like a Pomodoro technique, which is where you concentrate on a piece of work for 25 to 30 minutes with a 5-minute break. It's really important that you are allowing yourself the time to actually get on and do your work, as opposed to just be in constant meetings. So physical and mental well-being, be active. And I'm not saying go for a run that's the equivalent of a marathon, just do some form of exercise. There's loads of different activities you can do. So there's yoga with Adrian, which I believe is free. And can be quite fun, or even if it's a bit of Zumba in front of the TV. Do whatever you feel good doing, but do be active. Have a healthy and balanced diet. Drink lots of water, and I hate to say it, avoid snacking. And if you are snacking, try opt for healthy alternatives, or if you have the time, maybe make your own healthy snacks. Avoid alcohol consumption, particularly excessive amounts. This will trigger anxiety. Then mindfulness. Be mindful of your surroundings and be in the present moment. Don't try to think about what's going to happen in the future, and don't dwell in the past. Just be supportive of yourself at this time and do what makes you feel good. Then breathing and stretching exercises. So obviously breathing is what we do day to day, but do take the time to actually do breathing exercises. It will help you calm down, it will help you refocus, and it will also help you de-stress. And then stretching exercises. We are sitting in front of our screens for really long periods of time, so make sure you take those breaks to rest your eyes, but also to stretch, because sometimes you can find that our posture isn't at its best. So my final word is remember to be kind to yourself. Try and think positively. I know that's hard, but try turn your negative thoughts into positive thoughts. It's okay if some days you are less productive than others. We're all in uncertain times, and we're not going to be operating at 110% every single day. Take breaks, as I've mentioned, keep active, and try not think about what is out of our control. We're all in this together. Think about what you can control and focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. That was great. Really, really good presentation. Thank you. Just a few kind of things that I picked up on. It was really great in terms of forums, setting up team forums. Anybody who's on Microsoft 365 or use Teams or any of those apps for their organizations and businesses, they do actually have an app called Yammer. There you go, that's what I was trying to say. And on Yammer, you can actually set up different forums with different topics. So my husband's organisation use Yammer, and they have different threads and conversations and stuff going. So it is strictly for your organisation, nobody external to the organisation, and can go on there. It's basically designed for your teams to be talking about things that they're interested in. So that's a great way of doing it. That I love the make time for fun. I love Michelle Obama's thing where she says, plan your joy. So we're great at planning work and the things we do for work and our professional stuff, but we're not so great where we all fall down. A lot of us fall down because of modern life, and the complexities of that is planning our joy. So making sure that we've got those things that we love and enjoying those passions outside of our work planned in our diaries just as much as our work is. Love the being proactive. There is no perfect solution for everybody at the moment. You know, we're trying to get through this, all of us, as best we can. So just do the best you can. And don't put too much pressure on yourself either for achieving perfection or anything like that. Too many meetings, completely agree with that, Anna. Plan your Zoom meetings like you would plan live meetings. So you wouldn't fill your diary on a normal day with back-to-back face-to-face meetings and client appointments. You wouldn't do it. You give yourself a break in between. So make sure you're doing that in the same way with Zoom, because you're using that, they're putting the same pressures on your mind and your brain as you would do in a face-to-face meeting when you're seeing somebody on a screen. Trust, really important. Mental health awareness in your teams. It's Mental Health Awareness Week on the 18th of May, guys. So maybe this is a perfect opportunity for organisations to be planning some digital team activities and events during that week to create mental health awareness. It's a perfect excuse for you to bring in your teams up to speed. And then getting active, really important. Make sure you're taking those breaks at least once an hour. Get a 5-minute break to walk around, stretch your legs. And in terms of getting active, EventWell do actually have a challenge in May. So we're calling it the Step 300K. So 10,000 steps a day it takes to keep you healthy and fit and active. That's all it takes. So we're challenging all event professionals and event companies to achieve 300,000 steps in May. All you need to do is go out for a walk for an hour and you've got your 10,000 steps easily. So I'll share the link in a second on the chat so everyone can see for that challenge. That's going to be great. It's quite a few people signed up for it already. We're going to go into questions now. Thank you both to Johnny and Anna. That was really good. I'm going to bring up the question of terms of, there's a lot of people on furlough. I think we all know a lot of people on furlough. My other part-time job, I work for Royal Greenwich Heritage Trust. I'm currently on furlough, and you know it's difficult because when you're on furlough, you feel that you're disengaged from the people that you work with. It almost feels like, in a way, sometimes that you have been made redundant. You've lost your job because it's kind of, you've lost that kind of purpose with it and that connection with your team that we all strive on, that camaraderie that we all go to work, and you kind of lose that in a little bit. So how can we, I'll ask this to Anna first, how can we look after the well-being of those members of our team who are on furlough, who actually effectively are not meant to be in contact with the office? What can we do for those guys?
So thanks, Helen. I think it's really important to remember when employees are on furlough, it's that they're not working. That doesn't mean they don't have any contact with the rest of the team. As long as it's clearly not work, it's absolutely fine for the employer or the wider team to be in touch with those people. And I strongly encourage people to include those employees that may be on furlough to partake in social activities, get them involved, check in how they're doing. They're probably going through one of the toughest times of their lives, given the situation we're in, and then feeling that even that having a more sense of being isolated, keep in touch with them. Do make sure that they're okay. I think they'll really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you're mute.
Oh, Helen. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say completely agree with that. As someone who's on furlough, I think that connection, just from a checking in on a colleague perspective, doesn't have to be about work at all, does it? It's really important. Yeah, you wanted to add to that, Johnny?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the points that Anna made in the presentation as well is if you're going to check in with someone, it should be genuine, isn't it? So yeah, anyone that is furloughed, you're not necessarily following up with them about a task that they need to complete. I think it could be for certain individuals a little bit tricky to start a personal conversation rather than making it all about work. And I think this is a very unique opportunity for us to do that with members of our team, and especially with members that are furloughed. Something that I mentioned in my presentation, because we have the counselor that I mentioned available for all members of the team, and this person is particularly available for those members of staff that have been furloughed, because they will need the support and guidance throughout this period, to cope with the uncertainty. And they will have many questions, themselves about what will happen in 2-3 months once furlough is over as well. So I believe that scheduling a catch up with that type of individual at least once a week is very key. Either the line manager or the director of that department, and I think is necessary, for making sure that everyone is the well-being of that person is being looked after properly.
Yeah, great shout, Johnny. Actually, a brilliant question's actually just come in from Alison Jackerman. So she's put, my whole team is on furlough and it's just me left running things, with an interim manager not related to events. So this is great. So her question basically, suggestions to keep Alison motivated without her team support. So when your team's been furloughed and you're on your own, how do you motivate yourself?
Yeah, I think it is, motivation is hard, especially when you don't have other people around you. But I think that's where like techniques like the Pomodoro technique, there's loads of apps you can download. That's really helpful because you'll be able to see what you've actually achieved in that time. Or Toggle, as Johnny mentioned, you're actually mapping what your outcomes are. It is really good to have that structure so you can look at motivating yourself in advance. So usually before I sign off for each day, I'll look at what the day ahead holds and what I want to work on each day. So when I wake up in the morning, I can be like, right, I need to get on with XYZ project, and then I can move on to the other part. I think you can always check in with the rest of your team, especially if you're on your own, and not ask them about work, but just say, make light of the situation you're in. I think you also need to be kind to yourself, acknowledge that not every day you're going to feel completely motivated. You might find some days you just are a little bit slower than you would be otherwise. But I think, let your manager know how you're feeling, and also maybe use it as an opportunity to teach someone new skills. If your manager's not in events, well, great knowledge sharing opportunity.
Perfect, lovely, great answer. Oh, sorry, go on, Johnny. Yeah.
I wanted to, for anyone looking for anyone working by themselves, there will be many freelancers, like my partner who having to get very creative on how they spend their time during the day. But for those that are still working and are finding themselves in a very solitary position, I would really recommend to reach out to groups like Delegate Wranglers on Facebook, mainly because you really get to see the industry moving through these forums. And they organize a lot of socials, and they organize ways for freelancers or individuals to keep connected. So I would keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly go to a question from Andreas that's asking about the counsellors, and in terms of offering counselling to teams. He's kind of put here, are they an integral part of your team and how do you implement that? And he's made a comment in the chat as well in terms of, do you force team members to see a counsellor? I'll just answer this one quickly first from my perspective. I have bipolar disorder, so I have a mental health condition that I need to manage, and the onset of my mental health condition is linked to trauma that I experienced when I was younger. So I have been through the process of counselling and talking therapies. It is not for everybody. So absolutely not. I wouldn't force anybody to see a counsellor or talk to a counsellor if they don't want to, because you could actually end up making someone go the other way. Counselling and talking therapies, you have to be a willing participant, otherwise, and you have to have been proactive in terms of that decision to see a counsellor. Anna and Johnny, did you want to add anything to that in terms of counsellors and how that therapy works?
Yeah, and so I completely agree with what you've said, Helen. So actually at our society, we don't actually have an employee counsellor, but we offer access to an employee assistant program. So it's delivered by a third party. We use Health Assured, and so we signpost employees there. If we can see that they're struggling or they might need to talk to someone, then we'll encourage them to contact the EAP. I think what we also really need to recognise is, as line managers or senior management or as peers, you aren't a counsellor. So don't try and counsel someone. Try be a supportive person that's just listening and hearing what they're saying. Sometimes someone just needs someone to acknowledge the feelings that they're experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% back that as well. Anna, Johnny, what were you going to add on that as well?
I mean, I love what Anna just said. A counselor is a professional that has been trained to deal with the information that they receive without making it personal. And many of us, especially if I am the line manager of someone and I'm trying to counsel a member of my staff, there will be personal things that will creep into the conversation. And as you're saying, Anna, the best thing is to listen. Choosing to do counseling is a very personal decision. So you need consent. You certainly need consent from that person if you want them to join that activity.
Yeah, and I think also particularly if someone is in a really bad mental state and you are concerned about their safety, I think definitely encourage them to speak to a professional. As a first point of call, they can contact their GP. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely back that up. If you have worries, exactly what Anna and Johnny have said, don't try and counsel people, don't try and fix things for them. The best thing you can do if you're worried about someone, you're concerned about someone, is point them in the right direction of professional help. That's how mental health first aiders are trained. We're not there to fix people or fix the problem for them. People have to be willing participants. Otherwise it could have a detrimental effect. So the best thing you can do is point people for the professional help, and counsellors are professionally trained individuals who have studied and worked hard to be able to do what they do, and they know what they're doing and what they're talking about. So always bear that in mind, but don't ever force or push anybody. There has to be something that they want to do as well.
May I mention one last thing, Helen? Sorry about that. And it is that for anyone concerned about money, because most counselors, you have to pay them something. You can also access the Samaritans, and it is completely free. It's a service that I've used myself when I struggled with anxiety and depression back in the days.
Yeah, it's a good shout, that, Johnny. Thank you. I'm gonna ask this question, which I thought was there was a good one. We were discussing a little bit before we started, didn't we? And this is into kind of the physical well-being of people that are trying to do their work at home. They're not, in a way, it's not working from home, is it? Like a flexible choice that you have to work from home. It's basically trying to do your work from home. So how do we get people to take health and safety and their physical well-being seriously? To bring that force in, do we force them? What do we do? Take it away, guys.
So, yeah, I think it's really important that you explain to your team why it's so important. I think a lot of people don't actually realize that by being slumped on a sofa, you're actually probably going to get some back issues. If you're looking down at a screen, you're going to strain your neck. And because we're doing this day in and day out, you're going to feel the pain pretty quickly. Also share the information and the reasons why and what you expect people to do in different ways. I think having a range of resources is really helpful. I think one of the things you mentioned beforehand is signing a GSC work working equipment and setup sort of document to say you committed to working in a proper ergonomic way is really important. But I think, yeah, trying to explain to people the direct impact on them is really important.
Yeah.
And
I mean, some of the three of the main basic questions that we asked everyone as we were moving to work from home was number one, do you have a space where you can work, and what does that space look like? Number two is, do you have what equipment do you have at the moment, and what equipment do you need? You know, because we're talking about headset, laptop, Bluetooth, mouse, keyboard, anything that will help to make the situation better. And obviously, finally, you know how many people you live with, and what's your internet speed. And we can ask more questions, but those are the questions that allow us to understand the personal situation of each person and recommend how to make specific changes. I think there are general things that you could recommend, but often you have to get into, okay, what is the personal state of this individual?
Yeah, absolutely. We were chatting about last week, weren't we, when we were having a discussion together about the fact that we're all in uniquely different situations here, so everybody's trying to do the best that they can. This is unique in the fact that I don't think that the country's ever been in a situation where literally everyone is trying to do, apart from key workers, everyone is trying to do their work at home at the moment, and that will affect internet speeds, because obviously when you're at work and you're in your office, internet speeds are guaranteed and protected, not necessarily when you're at home. Some of us have got children at home. My little one walked in right at the start of this webinar we're about to start, kind of stuff. Great timing. But you know, she's little. When you've got younger children, they don't understand work. They just want to play. That's what they want to do. And they used to be in a nursery with their friends. So we're all in uniquely challenging situations. And I suppose this leads us on quite nicely to motivation and focus. So there's a question that came in beforehand. I'm not quite sure who asked this question. So great question if it was you. You mentioned it, really, it's hard to focus on work when the world is stressful, changing, challenging, and we're missing loved ones. So what is the best way to keep staff engaged, focused, motivated, when everything is changing and changing on a daily basis, kind of stuff? I mean, it's 6 weeks now that we've been in this situation. So what can we be doing with our teams to keep them?
Yeah, I think it's really important that we all acknowledge that we're all in really uncertain times. I think as a line manager, letting your team know, creating a space where you can discuss the different coping mechanisms we're putting into place. I think I've mentioned it a few times, not everyone's going to be motivated every single day, but I think it's also creating an environment that you can thrive in. So for example, if the news is, one of your triggers, it's causing you more anxiety, don't watch the news, or limit yourself, or get someone who you're close to just give you the top headlines of what you need to know about what's happened in the world. I think also embrace different technologies to keep in touch with loved ones. I know it's not the same as being able to give a family member a big hug, but me and my family, we're based all around the world, so we use a house party, and it's been great so far. But yeah, just try and implement things that you can control. Try not think about the bigger picture. Try focus on what's within your control, and yeah, just be mindful of your environment. Be mindful of what you're feeling. Some people find that writing in a journal will help them help reflect what they've been feeling, and you can actually see that process that one's gone through. So yeah, be creative. Ask your friends, your family, your colleagues, what are they doing? I think we need to be really open and honest and acknowledge that this is happening. I think if anyone's trying to say, what are you complaining about? There's nothing to complain about. Well, that they're in denial. So yeah, let's just talk openly. It is a stressful and uncertain world, but yeah, we're in it together, and there's no perfect solution. We just need to support each other and do what we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, did you want to add any thoughts on that at all?
Well, yeah, I was gonna. I like everything that Anna has said, and in addition to that, I was gonna mention, yeah, practicing mindfulness can be very useful because it allows you to focus on the right now, on the
Brilliant.
present.
We've got a few mindfulness questions, so this is brilliant. Yeah, that was going to be my next thing. So,
And we'll do a breathing exercise anyways. So you know, I'll show what that looks like. But I think it can be very easy to get really anxious about the future or depressed about what's just happened. And mindfulness can really help you concentrate on your breathing and use that as an anchor to concentrate on the right now, and then use that to concentrate on the task that you have to do for the day.
absolutely. So you were going to do a mindfulness exercise. I'm conscious that we're 5 minutes to go. So did you want to I know there's some other questions coming in, so maybe we can answer the additional questions offline after the webinar, and there's certain, myself, Anna or Johnny can take on some of those questions and answer them afterwards. I think it's now time, I think, on that mindfulness trigger for Johnny to take it away with our little breathing session. Yeah, away you go.
Thank you. If I could ask everyone to get in a comfortable position and find a way to relax, wherever you're sat, whether you're on a chair or on your bed, and that you prepare yourself to enter a space where nothing else matters. All that is happening is just the right now. I will invite everyone to close their eyes, if you can do that. Relax your forehead. And take deep breaths in and out. If it helps, count to 4 when you inhale, and then count to 8 when you exhale. Relax your shoulders. And concentrate on the breathing. There's nothing else to do. Just concentrate on that space, on your upper lip, where you feel the breathing. Relax your torso. Relax your arms. Place your hands gently on your lap. Continue following the natural flow of your breathing. If you get a little thought or any concerns creeping in, just note them and simply let them go. Concentrate on your breathing. Relax your knees. Relax your legs. continue breathing. And when you breathe out, make sure you let all the concerns, all the worries go. Now let's focus on one gratitude for oneself. And there's just a little phrase I would like everyone to repeat as you continue breathing. Say, may I be happy. May I be free. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. Take a deep breath again. Count if necessary. Repeat the same phrase in your head. May I be happy. May I be free. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. And we prepare for the end of the exercise. Come back to the room. Feel yourself present. Take one last deep breath. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And at the end of the exercise, we always say, Namaste.
Namaste, Johnny. I'm quite chilled now. I could just go to sleep. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Johnny, for a brilliant presentation, answering the questions so eloquently and perfectly. Anna as well. Lovely, brilliant presentation. Great answers to some of those questions that came in. If you would like to speak to some of us after the webinar in terms of some additional questions you might have, then do send those in, because we'd all be delighted to help and offer any additional assistance. Big thank you to Shocklogic and Visit Belfast for hosting this event for us today. Have a good rest of your day. Stay well, stay kind, stay healthy, and we'll see you all again soon. Thank you.